Candace, you ready?
No.
No. All right. We've been prepping all day, but no, we haven't been prepping all day.
I got 5 minutes, y'all. 5 minutes.
All right. We have with us this evening Candace Jean Cake. She is she's on staff here at our church. She's been actually she cleaned the church for about a year and a half, I guess, right? Something maybe not quite that long.
Somewhere around there.
And then, but she's been the secretary for 4 years, longer.
How long have you been here?
I've been here 7.5. So I guess you've been doing it for 5 years then. Okay. 6 years.
6 years.
Oh, wow. Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyway.
Somewhere in there.
And she's been a member for a lot longer than that. When did you join the church?
About 15 years.
15 years. Okay. So, but she has a story to tell. And I believe it's a story, as I opened a little bit ago, I believe it's a story that is relatable to people who are honest with themselves, and it is a great story of God's grace and His love for us. And so anyway, we want to hear the story from Candace. We got several people watching, and just shows that we love you, and so we're glad to hear your story. And so don't hold anything back. We want to hear all about it. But I guess the place we need to start is just kind of tell us from the beginning, because while most people in here know you, and probably most people who are watching live know you, but our hope is that this is going to spread around. You know, we try to do that, and we try to get this to a second and third tier, and people who don't know you. So tell us a little bit about Candace Jean Cake. Where'd you come from?
So I was born in Georgia, so I'm kind of still a Georgia girl, but I was raised in South Carolina. So I came to Savannah when Chris and I got married because he had a job here. So that's been almost 30 years, which is hard to imagine.
It feels like 60. So where were you? Where were you born in Georgia?
Americus, Georgia.
Oh, okay, yeah, Southwestern.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So I've been here for 30 years. I have a beautiful daughter.
She's taking Candace's place.
Yes.
And running the computer back here. So.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So, like in the middle of all that, I think one of the big things that we want to understand from the get-go is the spiritual foundations that you had. So, like, did you grow up going to church? I mean, how was all that? How did you get involved?
So, when I would go visit my grandma in the Americus, Georgia area, she would make sure that we were in church. You had to make sure you took your church clothes, or you were going to hear it from my grandma. So I only forgot mine once. But then when I was 15, I had an uncle die, and my parents decided that we should probably be in church because, when you have a death in the family, it kind of shakes things up. And so we started going to church pretty regularly. I fell in love with church because I'm a very social person. I know y'all don't know that about me. And it was a great place for me to go be with my friends, and I got to make new friends, and I just loved everything about church. I got to hear about this God that loved me, and I fell in love with it. I did mission trips. After I got out of the youth, I started working with the youth. I mean, I fell in love with the church. And it was pretty much my life for a while. I worked in the daycare at the church. I mean, I was immersed in it. And so my parents, they were pretty active in the church. And my brother, he was older than me, so he didn't really care, He was the wild child. I was I want to please everyone and make everybody happy, and Robbie was I just want to have fun and live my life.
And he was the older one?
He was the older one.
You know, if you ever study birth order, that's actually backwards.
Yes,
that's
yes,
interesting.
we were very backwards. Yes, I would do his chores so that he wouldn't get in trouble. I mean, it was very backwards.
Wow.
Um, so, so when he graduated high school, he went into the Marines. And I believe my mother is certain, or she was certain, that he did eventually find Jesus. So I'm holding on to that because when he was 23, he was in a drinking and driving accident. And it was just him. No other car was involved, but he like flipped, rolled down a hill, and he died. And so we get a call at, I don't know, it was the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. And they didn't tell us that he had died. They just said that he was in a bad accident and we needed to get to the hospital. So we go to the hospital and we're sitting there and actually my parents went to the counter and they said we were here to see Robbie Lee. He was in an accident. And they said that they did not have any record of a patient with that name. So they made us go sit down. Well, then we see the coroner come out, and she's got this manila envelope, and they come out and tell us that he had passed. So.
And how old were you at this time?
I was about 20, 21, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So it was pretty tough for me because even though I felt like a grown-up at 20 or 21, sorry, Anna. You're really not grown up. You know, the handling something that heavy is just really hard. You don't know how to deal with it when you're 20. I mean, for that matter, when you're 50, you still don't really know how to deal with that kind of grief, you know? And so when that happened, from that point on, it was almost like I lost my brother. And I also lost my parents because my parents were so lost in their grief that I was on the outside looking in. And so that was a really hard place to be. And if it wasn't for Chris and some of my really good friends and my church, I would have really been lost. But they held me together. And they walked with me, and they got me through it. And so hardship doesn't wait until you're old enough to handle it. It starts, you know, in the beginning. For some, it starts even younger than 20 or 21. And if we don't have those tools to deal with it, then we just struggle. And I'm a very emotional person, just so y'all know. I'm a crier. Lane walked into my office one day, and I'm sitting there crying because I was watching something on the computer.
I thought it was something real. I thought we were like, oh, wow, what's going on?
What happened?
TV. Please.
So I'm a crier. I'm sorry. So anyway, so that was the beginning of a very complicated relationship for me and my parents. Very complicated. And
like how so? What do you mean when you say that?
So my mom, her depression was really, really dark. Like, as a mom now, I can understand it a little better. But as a 20-year-old, I really couldn't. Like, I felt as if she had wished it was me.
Now, looking back on that, was there any foundation to that as you look back, or were you just reading something into it because of how you felt at the moment?
I like to say it's how I felt at the moment, but Robbie was her favorite. You know, I know that parents are not supposed to have favorites, but there's always one that you just seem to get along with just a little bit better. So I was a daddy's girl, and Robbie was a mama's boy. I can't get it right. So I don't know. I can't answer that for sure. I still have my doubts, but it was really just hard to get through that. And honestly, it took another 25 years before we actually totally mended those fences. So if you fast forward a little bit, Chris and I got married. We were 23 when we got married. Thank goodness he's here, because I'd be getting all these things wrong. So we got married at 23 and moved to Savannah, 2.5 hours away from our families. And marriage was good. It was not perfect. We've always struggled with communication. Communication is not a strong suit for me, and is not a strong suit for him. And we communicate in different styles, which is even more fun, you know. But we were getting along. We were rolling along. And he lost his job that he got here not too long after we had been here. And so he threw our finances to me and was like, here, just handle that. So we were working, we were getting by. And finally, we were able to have a baby. And that took a little while, well worth the wait. But during that time, finances got really hard and really tight. And instead of going to Chris and talking to him, because remember, I have communication issues, I did not. I just wanted to deal with it myself. I wanted to be able to handle it. I wanted to fix it. And at the time, I worked for a builder doing bookkeeping. And again, instead of going and talking to anyone, I felt completely isolated because I couldn't go to my parents. I didn't have that relationship. Chris and I, we were struggling, so I didn't really have that. I didn't feel like I had anywhere to turn. So instead of going and talking to my boss, who is a very kind man, a very logical, smart man, and having a conversation with him, I decided I would borrow money from him without telling him. It did not go well. Because I'm not a smart person when it comes to that type of thing, which is good because I don't need to be smart in that way.
So how long did that go on?
I think it was like 2 weeks later when he figured it
so
out. I mean, it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part is, through this whole thing, God was talking to me, and I was ignoring him.
What was he saying?
Like on the last day, he said, I was sitting at my desk, and I swear it was like a clear voice, like somebody standing beside me going, you need to go talk to them. You need to go talk to them. And I was like, but what if they don't know? I can't do this. And I didn't. And so I was fired. I was turned in, and instead of having to go to Chris and say, "Hun, I've screwed everything up. We're gonna lose the house."
No, do not apologize. If you want to take a moment, we can. We can always edit video. So
I had to go to Chris and say, I've screwed up our finances. They're a hot mess. And I might go to jail. So, understandably, Chris was pretty upset. I'm sorry. Comic relief is my thing.
Chris, do you remember that conversation? All right. What that? Oh, did it? Oh, yeah.
So he got up and left. And I didn't know if I was going to stop a marriage. I didn't know anything.
So pretty much everything was on the teetering point.
I mean,
Jail, freedom,
talk about
marriage.
rock bottom. Man,
Yeah.
I slammed down into it. But Chris's dad was a good man, and he was on the phone with Chris going, you cannot leave her. You have vowed to stay married to her. Y'all have got to work this out. You've got to talk it out. Y'all have got this.
You made a vow. I was there. You told me every time.
So this was, all right, so going through this was one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And the worst part is I did it to myself. You know, I did it to myself. I did not have to experience this. I made the choice to do this. But we all make dumb choices. And it took me a very, very long time to understand that our choices don't have to define us. Mm-hmm. And that God still loved me. That He knew I was going to make this stupid choice, and He still loved me. He still chose me. So it took me a long time to get to that point. Like, I went through the whole court thing, which was pretty short because, I mean, obviously I said I was guilty. It's not like I tried to say I wasn't. And so we went through all of that. Chris and I stayed married. We hardly talked to each other, but we stayed married. We were still there. And there were times when we both thought about divorce. I mean, I talked to my cousin, who is an attorney, and he told me, he said, Candace, I know you think that this is going to fix it, but it's not. It's going to just make it worse. So I stayed, and...
So what was the outcome of the court part? Or are you getting to that? I don't know if...
They have a thing called first offenders something. I can't even remember what it's called, but because it was my first offense, basically I had probation, and once I finished that probation, it would roll off of my record.
Okay.
So.
And let me just say to Candace's credit, when she was interviewing to be the secretary here at the church, there was no record. She didn't have to say anything, but she chose to tell us the story at that time. She came to me first, and then I said, well, we need to tell the personnel committee. I guess that's who it was personnel that made that decision. Mm-hmm. And so she sat down with the personnel committee, told them, I don't know if she gave every single detail, but she certainly told what needed to be told.
Quite honestly, that was the first time I had really told people.
Huh. Was it really that in there?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there were a handful of people, like a counselor, a pastor, but really and truly that was like the first time I truly told my story.
And you want to know one of the neat things, though? Again, just to show that grace really does stream through God's people. I remember you telling that story, and first of all, the whole committee was like, okay, we're glad you told us, but you're still fine to work here. And do you remember Melissa Bond got up and she walked over to you and just hugged you? And I thought that's God's people in action.
Exactly.
And so anyway, all right, go ahead. You're gonna make me cry now. Stop.
Sorry. Told y'all it was a messy story. All right, so this is my favorite moment through this whole thing. Okay, like I'm at rock bottom. Okay, rock bottom. I have nowhere to go. My life is in shreds, and I have a toddler, a baby to take care of because I mean she was here. She was a baby when this happened, and so we're outside one day. It's just me and her. Chris was at work, And we're sitting out there. She's rolling around on the blanket that I had on the ground, and I'm just sitting there. I had done a Bible study, and I was just crying out to God because I needed to know that He was there. And it was a very still day. It was no wind whatsoever. And I literally sat there and cried out to God to please let me know you're here. And a breeze came through. And it was just like God had put his hand on my cheek and he said, I'm here. It's okay. Let's get through this. And it was like the most beautiful moment that I have ever experienced. And there's a verse in the Bible, and I made sure to write it down, and it's on the advertisement or whatever that I did. It's Isaiah 43:2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they will not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be scorched, nor will the flame burn you. I walked through that river, and I walked through that fire. And yes, I created all of this turmoil myself, but I didn't have to go through it alone. God was walking right there with me, and he made sure that I could feel that. Now, sure, there were days when I would still doubt and I would still struggle, but for the most part, I could feel God right there with me, walking with me through this. Chris and I, our marriage is not perfect. We still struggle. We still argue. Communication is still an issue. But we're at almost 30 years, and I can actually look at him and tell him that he is my friend and that I love him. And that is a beautiful thing because I wasn't sure that we would have that. But we do because of God's grace and God's love. So, yeah.
Okay.
The other verse that I wrote down is Psalms 103:12. So, this one is for those that have made stupid choices, made mistakes.
There might be a couple of them in here. I'm not really sure. But.
As far as the east is from the west, so far how he removed our transgressions from us. God is a loving, forgiving God, and there is nothing that you can do that he can't forgive. You are loved. You're forgiven if you ask. So, there you go. Anything else?
No, you're not off the hot seat just yet.
Oh, wow. How did I do that in that short time?
I don't know.
I'm sure I left something out.
You're like me. You talk short, right?
Yeah.
Short
yeah,
sermons.
just like you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bruce, you can't say you're the one who brought me here. So, it's interesting. When you were talking about that he loved you and chose you, even though he knew what you were going to do, my mind goes back to Peter. You know, he knew exactly, like he told Peter, this is what you're going to do, and yet he already had a plan for him. And then you talk about the mess that we get ourselves in. I would love for somebody to find a character in here that does not do that. Other than, hold on, maybe, I guess Joshua. Joshua may be the only one who does not do something really boneheaded in the Bible. And yet, God still chose him, loved him, and another big deal to me is used them. Mm-hmm. And so, hadn't that been something that it seems like I remember you telling me this, just to show y'all that we didn't script this at all. But you struggle with the fact of whether or not God could use you after that. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Or like, have you moved past that even yet, or is that still something that really haunts you, or like?
So I felt completely broken, like I was defective, you know? how can a Christian make such a colossal mistake? I knew who God was. I loved him, and yet I still chose to break one of the 10 commandments that shouldn't be that hard to not break. You know what I mean? So yes, I have struggled with that. But I've discovered through reading the Bible that God does choose to use broken people. A lot of times, people that you would never even fathom him choosing, he chooses to use them. And I've decided that it is because, if he chooses the broken people, his glory will shine even brighter. Like, I can't stand up here and say, this is me, I did everything. I did all the good stuff. I'm broken, y'all. I'm a hot mess. There's no way that I can do, I can't take credit for any of the good stuff that I've done because I'm just a broken hot mess. But God can do it. He can do things through me. And he does do things through me. I've actually given a talk a few times through Emmaus, sharing my testimony, and I know that I have done good things through that. Working with the teenagers here, I try to make sure they know that I've never told them this whole story, but I've told them, I've made mistakes, I've screwed it up, I've done it wrong. But God, he loves me. And he's going to love you through everything that you've got going. So I have found my way through that. I still think that God's crazy for choosing to use me, but but his ways are not our ways, and
And you've got your Monday night Bible study that I know means a lot to the ladies that are in there, and so, and you've touched a lot of people personally, and I know that personally. Maybe I haven't told you, but I know that that's true, and so it's not just teenagers. It's people. We got more people than we normally have in this room, and it's not for no reason. We got a lot of people watching online. It's not for no reason. So yes, there is nothing that is unredeemable that we've done, which is good, because the only difference between you and me is, and probably most people in this room, is that we weren't caught publicly. I hadn't,
I get what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes.
So
we all have sin.
yes,
Yes.
and some of us, some of it ain't pretty. If we're just glad it wasn't put on a screen for everybody to see. That's all. So, but God still knows, and God still forgives, and God still uses. So, anybody have any questions that y'all wanted? We got plenty of time. We're not going to just sit around and burn time, but we have time. Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask Candace about her journey? If you're watching online, and if you're watching live, at least online, you can write a question in the comments section, and that'll come to my phone. I think it'll try to, and I'll be glad to ask her. But you need to go ahead and start typing that now, because it'll take you a second to type, and there is a time delay. So go ahead and begin to write those questions out. Anybody have any questions in the room?
A comment.
Okay. Shoot, remember, I'm gonna have to repeat whatever they say so that they'll hear this. Okay.
I was just thinking about our West Virginia trips that Candace started and directed all those years, and what a blessing we had with those blessings. And I forgot how you got started with it.
Stephanie Carr actually started it, and then when she started working at the Mission Savannah Association, she wasn't able to do those anymore, so I stepped in to start leading those.
So the comment was
Sorry.
about we have a trip to West Virginia, a mission. There's a ministry up there that we have a partnership with, or have had. Is struggling now. The ministry is up there, and so Candace kind of took the reins on that and schedule one, sometimes two a year to go up there and do something with them, and so that's been very meaningful. Both to the people up there and the people who came from here. So.
It was definitely a blessing to be able to do that, and I was able to actually use my story up there a couple of times to touch some people there. So, yeah.
Bruce?
My comment is to, this is not a revelation or anything, but we are all broken one way or another, each of us. So God chooses to use, if he was able to use David, this King David, just as an example, he can use any of us if we repent to him and allow ourselves to be put on show, or whatever you want to call it, because we have to be willing to be vulnerable, to tell people our story, or otherwise, somebody that may need to hear your exact story may not ever hear it. And so God chooses to use you to tell that story so somebody else can get some understanding with what they're going through. And I believe everybody in here would say we're all broken. There's so many people in this one room right here that have lost spouses, and there's so much going on with children and grandchildren, and you name it. We're all broken. Glenn has lost a granddaughter. Everybody in here is lost, and we're broken because of that. And it's no different what you're talking about. No different.
Just the comment was, he was just talking about brokenness, and we're all broken. We are. Bruce, I remember a conversation. I was just talking about this the other day. I talk about it often, actually, with pastor friends. But you called me during the what do you call it? The process, the search process of a pastor. And you called me one time out of a family gathering to tell me like some mess that was going on in the church. And you ended by saying, so if you don't want to continue in this process, I get it. That's what you said. And I told you at that moment, and I've said it many, many times before and since, when you got something like that going on, every pastor is broken and every church is dysfunctional because we're all messed up. And so if God can't use that, then God is not much of a God. But he does. In fact, that's pretty much all he uses. You remember who the perfect people were, right, in the Bible? The Pharisees. And he was like, no thanks. And so yeah, if somebody's out there watching, somebody in here listening, and you think you've messed it up beyond degree, you just hadn't figured God out yet. Because he always is stronger and greater than any way that we could possibly even dream of messing up. So there is still hope for you. You just gotta walk with him, gotta stick with him, and you'll be useful for the kingdom.
Speaking of hope, I didn't tell y'all about the reconciliation with my parents.
Oh yeah, yes, definitely want to hear that, and I do have a question on here too.
Oh, which one first?
I'll go. Actually, this will come first chronologically.
Okay.
How young were you and Chris when y'all first started dating?
We were high school sweethearts. We were seniors in high school, so 17.
Yeah. Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Anyway.
And we got married after Chris graduated college. High school.
Yeah.
After college. So, yeah.
Okay, so tell us how you made it with.
Okay, so, throughout the years with my parents, we would try, like, reconciliation. I would try, they would try. Dad and I were pretty good. I was a daddy's girl, so we were pretty good. But Mom and I, we still just really struggled to find common ground. And so we would be okay for a little while, and then we would kind of fracture a little bit, and it was a constant struggle, And then one day, I was here, actually. It was a Wednesday night. My dad called and he said, he wouldn't talk to me here. He said, just call me when you get home. And so I knew that was weird because usually Dad and I, we got along great, but neither one of us liked to talk on the telephone, which is funny since I'm a secretary, but neither one of us liked to talk on the phone. So usually it would be like, hey, how are you? Things going good? Yeah, yeah, okay, all right, well, I'll talk to you later, you know, and that was that. And, but this time he wouldn't talk to me. He just told me to call him back. So I called him back when I got home, and he told me that they had found a spot on his lung, and he had lung cancer. He had the small and large cell lung cancer. And the prognosis was not great, but they thought that he would have at least until Christmas. And so that started me going to South Carolina a lot because Mom, she had her own health issues. I had decided in my brain a long time ago that Mom would go before Dad because she did have so many health issues. And so I'd go up for appointments. I would go help, you know, whatever with the house, you know, whatever they needed, I would just go up there. Like it seemed like every other weekend or something, sometimes every weekend. And so we started spending more time together. She started seeing value in me because I was helping. And we started mending our fences a little bit at that point because Dad needed us both. It couldn't just be one or the other. He needed us both. And so we started working on that relationship. And then, so Dad passed. He did not make it to Christmas, which I was very upset about. But we did have a Christmas tree up. We did get there. But Dad passed, and I was really worried about Mom because, you know, she did not handle my brother's death very well. And so I was pretty angry at God. I'm not even going to lie. And this was only like, 5 years ago? I was pretty angry at God. Like, how can you take my daddy and leave me with this grief-stricken woman who doesn't know how to deal with it, can't help me? You know, what were you thinking? And I discovered over the next year that what God was thinking was I needed to have that relationship repaired or I wouldn't be able to live with that. And so over the next year, you know, I was there still a lot. It seemed like every other weekend still because Mom needed company. Mom needed help. So I was there all the time, and we were actually able to sit and watch a movie and laugh together. We talked a little bit about the past, but we didn't dig very deep because, you know, those wounds were still raw. Obviously, they still are. But it was almost a year, a little over a year, after Dad died that Mom got really sick and she passed. But because of God knowing way more than I do, He did take my dad first so that Mom and I could repair our relationship, and I can know that I had my mom for a year before she passed. So, yeah.
Praise Jesus.
That's right. I can live with myself now because if we hadn't repaired that relationship, I would have always thought, well, why didn't I? I should have, you know, but now I can say I did, and, you know, I can be okay with that. Sure, the past, I can't change the past, but I can take what happened and I can move forward.
Sure.
So
it reminds me of Ecclesiastes where Solomon said the mind of the wise is in the house of mourning, And there's just something about the perspective of mourning and grief and heartache that that we don't get when everything is fine. So, well, Candace, thank you for being willing to share your story. You'll be able to see some comments on here.
Sorry, I cried so much.
That's fine.
I did warn him. I said, this is going to be your most emotional podcast that you've had yet.
Yes.
I didn't lie.
We've not broken out these yet until tonight, so we got them for Candace. But anybody want to donate a new box? Good grief. I'm just kidding. No, but thank you for sharing your story. You're gonna want to see some of the comments that are online. That they're not questions; they're just things that people want to tell you.
So people still love me.
They
Because
they
I'm
kind of
not
like
gonna lie,
they
I was
kind
a
of like
little
you.
worried that people were not gonna look at me the
Oh, my
same.
goodness.
Well,
I know. It's
okay.
been 20 years,
So
but still.
let's just be honest. In certain circles, there is that risk. There
Right.
just is, and
Right.
it's sad. It's sad, but it's because people don't look inside and say, you know what? Except for the grace of God, that would be me. So, and they're too much pride, and it's going to hurt them. But anyway, all right. Thank you for your time. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for joining us online. Why don't we close in prayer? God, we thank you for your story of redemption. We thank you for your story of a steadfast love that never does leave us. It doesn't forsake us. It walks with us through. It doesn't wait for us on the other end. It walks with us through the trials of life. Even when it's our own fault, you still don't. You still remain faithful to us. As Paul figured out, even when we are faithless, you are faithful. And we see that really if we examine our own lives. We know that to be true as well, personally. And so God, I thank you for Candace and her willingness to open up and to share. And I pray that it hits the right, just the right ears at just the right time for people who are struggling and wondering if they're still lovable and still usable. And may they hear what you have done through her, and may they be encouraged to continue in the faith. Thank you for your love for us, and that love is always so evident, never more evident than on the cross. And we just thank you that that's a present reality for all of us, even in our own sin. We love you, and we know that it's because you first loved us. In Jesus' name, amen.